Welcome to Secrets Out Idaho. Each week, we let you in on the secrets of Southern Idaho and speak to the people who make it such a unique hidden gem. I'm your host, Connie Stopher. On this week's episode, we'll speak to professor, health coach, and program coordinator Makenzie Ellsworth. We'll hear about how she overcame obstacles to achieve her lifelong dream to help people reach their fitness and health goals, and how she's inspiring others along the way. She'll share some of her favorite spots and why she's happy to be back in Southern Idaho. Makenzie Ellsworth, thank you so much for joining us on Secrets Out Idaho. I'm really excited to interview you and hear more about your story.
Well, thanks. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. So first, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so of course my name is Makenzie, but most people know me as Mac, and I currently am a program coordinator at St. Luke's, where I work full-time to implement and promote the wellness programs for employees. And then I also am a health coach with the Diet Doctor in Falls, where we help people with their weight loss goals. And then I am an adjunct instructor at CSI in the health science department. So kind of wear many hats, but have lived in Idaho my whole life and couldn't really imagine living anywhere else, now. I never thought I would say that, at age 27, but I'm really happy to be here. So
awesome. So very busy and doing lots of different things and things that keep people active and healthy. And so what led you to go into that career and that profession?
Yeah, so I actually, when I was younger, always wanted to be an aerobic instructor. In 8th grade when they have you search different occupations and things like that, I always thought I'd move to California and be this random fitness guru. And then as I got older, I just was really involved in basketball, rodeo. My family was very active. We grew up on a ranch and just really had an active lifestyle my whole life growing up. And then when I was 15, I was injured in a car accident and have since been paralyzed. I'm a T3 paraplegic. And at that point in time, I thought, gosh, I can't go into anything like fitness related. That just wouldn't make any sense. And so I started pursuing a bachelor's in psychology and soon realized that I'm just not empathetic enough to be a counselor. And so, but I just still really had that urge to be active. Even in college, I, found different ways to be active. I swam, and I did tennis and I rode my bike and just, tried to do a lot of different things. But when I was in college, I met a professor there after taking a personal fitness class and just kind of told him a little bit about myself. And he really was the one who I would say kind of got me thinking differently about my future in terms of what I wanted to do career-wise. And so I just started taking a lot of actual physical education courses at the College of Idaho. And he was so great because he would just adapt the classes and show me how to make, all the activities work. I remember we would play badminton in the gym, and he'd always just pair me with the tallest basketball player, and we'd always win. But he just really brought back that love of activity inside me, and so I actually pursued a bachelor's in physical education at that point, and then also still got my bachelor's in psych too. But really just from that point on, I realized that I can still be active in a wheelchair and just really wanted to motivate others to be active. And so my hashtag is no excuses. Anybody can, find ways to incorporate, healthy activities throughout their day. So I really got into health, in college and have since just really made that part of who I am, whether it's, through fitness or nutrition or, just having healthy hobbies to look forward to every day. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you went ahead and paired psychology with the physical activity, because I think, at least for me and probably a lot of other people, the psychology of getting yourself to go do something, sometimes I think it can be hard to get out of your comfort zone and maybe try an activity that you've never done before, or just to say, I can do this, I can achieve my physical goals, to either just be able to do an activity or just to be healthier and fit. And then there's probably a lot of psychology that goes into motivating people to be active.
Yeah, I think so. I always tell people and clients especially too that for me, I work out for my mental health and I use nutrition for my physical health, which I think is kind of backwards for a lot of people. But definitely, after I was injured, I, mentally went through just A lot of things, just it was a huge life change for me. And I was really anxious and struggled from a little bit of depression in the beginning. And physical activity was really that one thing that calmed my mind down. And it still does. I think I would be an anxious mess if I didn't work out every day. And so it's just really been that mode for me that has just keeps me calm and centered. And it's something I just really utilize for my mental health so much. And I think exercise, like you said, it can be so hard to get yourself to do it. And even myself, there's some days where I really don't want to go to the gym or even go for a walk. But once I do it, I feel so good. And I think by doing that every day, you get addicted to that feeling. So I think, everybody goes through phases and sometimes life punches you in the face and you might not get to be active in the same ways that you used to be. But I think as long as you're open-minded to trying new things and making it social when you can, I think is always important. So
that kind of leads me into social. I think is a great way to have like an accountability buddy or somebody that does it. Is there any other tips that you would recommend for somebody who's just has a barrier to getting out, whether that's time, a mobility issue, or just motivation to go out and finally turn over a new leaf and be active?
Yeah, I think another little motto I like to say is, if it's important, you make time. If it's important, you'll wake up 30 minutes earlier or go to bed 30 minutes later. I think if you really sit down and look at your schedule, we tend to prioritize things in our calendar that are important. And sometimes it just takes sitting down and figuring out, okay, I actually really do have 30 minutes here instead of maybe scrolling through Facebook or, watching TV. There's, usually moments of time that you can be active. And I think even just learning to move naturally throughout your day. So if you work at a desk all day, finding ways to stretch at your desk or, finding ways to do walking meetings and move throughout your day. So that way it's not maybe just a 30-minute session, that's right then and there. It can actually be throughout the day, I think is a tip I would have for everyone, is that activity doesn't have to be at the gym. It can be at work. It can be at school. It can really be anywhere. And so just being creative that way, I think, is, one way to reduce the barrier. And then, of course, having the accountability partners, I think, is really important, whether that's through a health coach or just your friends. Sometimes family isn't always the best option because they tend to be a little bit too critical of us and have different expectations than maybe what we would like. But I think, having specific goals for yourself is always important, and having something to work towards. And so that way when you achieve it, you can feel really good and know that you've put in the work and you've gotten the results from doing that. So
that's awesome. So it sounds like college was really transformative for you, both professional and personally. Do you want to talk a little bit more about like where you went to school and all of that?
Yeah. So I actually got my bachelor's at the College of Idaho in Caldwell. So I spent 4 years there, double majored and received a minor. And from that point on, I kind of freaked out right after I graduated because I had a double major in psych and PE, and I thought, oh gosh, I don't want to be a PE teacher at all. That was not my goal. And I didn't want to go into counseling, and my minor was in coaching. So it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Because I had a blast in college. I played badminton, I did archery, and, maybe had a little bit too much fun that way. But so at that point in time, I applied to a position. It was an AmeriCorps Vista position through the Idaho Food Bank. And the AmeriCorps is pretty much like the domestic Peace Corps. And so you serve a year in the U.S. and you get, stipends on your loans and things like that to help pay off student loans from your college. And it's really just about getting experience, in the community, especially with nonprofits and making programs sustainable. So basically you're a capacity builder. And for me, I was really lucky because Idaho Food Bank in Boise had a position that supported the Cooking Matters program, which is a cooking and nutrition education program that teaches at-risk families how to cook healthy, tasty meals on a budget. And that was right up my alley because I was also, I've always been a foodie. In college, we did a 10-day trip to Italy and studied the slow food movement.
Ooh, wow.
Which was amazing because it was all about food and wine and cheese. We did cooking classes, and
that's like my dream is to like just go to Italy and cook and celebrate.
Right. We actually, I think my favorite part of that trip, we had a chef. He had this like barn restaurant, and he did a private cooking lesson with us and showed us how to make dandelion ravioli from scratch, because it was all about using different foods from the backyard or the field or whatever. And
I have plenty of dandelions, so maybe I'll have to do it.
And so he had lots of those too, and so he showed us how to make this amazing pasta. And then we of course there was a winery there, and it was just such a fabulous trip. We got to see Venice on Easter, and just really got to see a totally new culture and a new way of looking at food, which was fun. So when I saw Cooking Matters pop up for a position, I thought, oh my gosh, this is what I need to do. And I luckily got the position and worked in that for a year, and then extended my service to help implement the recreation activities at the Picnic in the Park program that they offer during the summer months. So they feed children throughout the summer free lunches to fill in that gap from, the meals that they would normally receive during the school year at the schools. And, because it's summer, the lunches are outside in parks. And so I was able to lead a team of 4 other girls who had just graduated. And we implemented all these rec activities at the park. So we played soccer every day, or just random yard games, which was really fun and I think really powerful for me, because being in a wheelchair, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm out in a park, like I can't play soccer with the kids. But we found so many ways to be active and ways that I could be part of that. It was really cool. And I think for the kids too, to see somebody like myself out being active was special as well. So I did that for that summer. We had 26 different park locations.
Wow.
So it was a pretty big project, and it was fun though to use my physical education background versus, that health background and nutrition work that I had been doing. So I did that, and then I had a really big idea that I was going to go get my dietetics license. But because I played so much in my undergrad, I had to take a lot more science classes, and so I went back into chemistry, A&P, microbiology, all these tough classes in one semester, which was rough, but I did it. And then I did get accepted to a program in Loma Linda for their coordinated dietetics program, which I was so excited about. But I was in Boise still at this time, and I just was really having an urge to be back in the Magic Valley, and I really didn't know why. I loved Boise. I played tennis there. I had a really good group of friends that, we were traveling and playing tennis, and it was just really fun. But when I got accepted to Loma Linda, I knew it was an amazing school. It was a private school, just like the College of Idaho, and I just could not wrap my head about going there, and I was really conflicted. And so when I had gone back to school, I had left the food bank and that work. And about this time I had found out I was accepted to Loma Linda's program, the Idaho Food Bank opened up a position again for Cooking Matters, but it was a full-time paid position to implement Cooking Matters. And it wasn't an AmeriCorps Vista position anymore. And I thought, oh man, I could do that again, and it be like a real job, but I could do it in Twin. And the position was posted in Boise, so it was kind of one of those things I was a little hesitant about, but I knew they had always wanted to get programming in the Magic Valley. And so I went ahead and applied and pitched that I didn't want to do it in Boise. I really wanted to bring the program to the Magic Valley. And luckily at the time, Lamb Weston or ConAgra had received a grant to end childhood food insecurity in Twin Falls County. And with that grant money, the food bank was helping facilitate that grant. And I was able to move up here and live with my grandmother in her really tiny apartment in Kimberly and upstart Cooking Matters. And it was really kind of a game changer, that whole first 3 months I was starting there, because my mom actually passed away about a month after I started in that position. And my mom lived and worked here in Twin at the surgery center. And I would have been moving to grad school if I would have gone on the day of her funeral. And so it was kind of making everything that was happening just really fell into place, and it made sense of why I wanted to be closer to family, because I did graduate high school in Kimberly and I have family up in Southern Idaho. So it just felt like, oh, wow, this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm implementing a program I love. And so I did that for 3 years and really got to know this community so well. And I think for me, I really enjoy being in Twin Falls and this area because of the people. I think that the people here are just so nice and welcoming, and I couldn't ask for, a better place to be at that point in time, especially. And during that time, I actually decided that public health was probably more my jam than nutrition. And so instead of getting my dietetics or going into nutrition, I decided to get my master's in public health with a focus on health promotion. So while I worked full time, I got my master's and through National University, which is based in San Diego, and it was all online, and absolutely loved it. And just kind of incorporates more aspects or components of wellness, which I really like. So it kind of is a little bit more broad, and I think that's just, I couldn't have found a better spot for me to, extend my education.
That's amazing. And just, I think we hear so many stories about how the universe just points you in the right direction. And the time when you're thinking, man, I don't know if San Diego's right, you probably didn't, you just had this sixth sense that you're like, I need to go back to Magic Valley. Maybe San Diego's not for me. And then life told you why. It was just, I think that's just kind of amazing that you just ended up in the right place when you needed to be.
Yeah, it was very powerful. I remember I would cry on the phone to my dad, and he's like, this is a great opportunity. You should probably go. And I just couldn't. There was really a pull to be back here. And, I had a really strong relationship with my grandmother. And so for her to take me in and for us to be together after my mom passed away, and then to really get some great work experience in a community with a program that is just so fun and community driven. It was pretty crazy where it took me. So
yeah, and I'm so excited too for the path that you're on too. I think with your background and physical education and psychology and public health, there are just so many different elements that I think every community needs, to have a really positive, healthy community.
Yeah, I think, with public health, you really learn how you learn a ton about social determinants of health, of course, and lots of different theories on, health with health models and things like that. But also really how environments influence people's health. So there's a saying, your zip code dictates your health, and looking at how just having sidewalks can really impact somebody's ability to walk to and from a supermarket, or maybe living in a food desert, how that can impact the food that you buy and purchase for your daily living. I think a lot of times people think of food deserts just in rural communities, but they can actually be in very large cities as well, depending on if somebody doesn't have transportation or not. And I think with Idaho, we're kind of seeing, and in Southern Idaho, this transportation issue people have, and just having access to the resources they need. I think Cooking Matters really showed me you have to take programming to people, especially if you're working with those who are of maybe low income or at risk. You really have to meet them where they are, because our environments with health really struggle, not just in Idaho, all over, the world. But I think if we can just really make wellness fun and not so depriving, I think we could have a whole movement going. And I think it's so easy to think about being healthy as a negative thing and about just your weight or what you look like, when in reality it can be something that just, it really keeps you going. And it's such a bigger picture. I think it makes you more social when you're healthy. You get to be with your family more, and you get to live longer and just do more things. I think if people could just shift their mindset, we could have some, powerful changes in, obesity rates and things like that. So I'm all about making wellness fun. And don't get me wrong, you'll probably see me eating a brownie occasionally. I'm not perfect.
It's all about balance,
It's all about balance, yeah. So, I don't think anybody needs to go out there and think they need to eat perfectly or do everything perfectly, because that's just not going to happen.
Well, and that's, you touched on a couple of things that I'm excited about moving forward in Twin Falls, about developing public transportation. I think will be huge for folks who maybe live on the outskirts of town or maybe who live far enough from a grocery store that it does make it challenging for them to get to the grocery store or get to the gym or go to the doctor's appointments. And also I love that they extended the Canyon Rim Trail. It's just such an awesome free opportunity for people to be active and see the beautiful scenery. And I think that's just like an awesome amenity for us to have for a healthy lifestyle here.
Oh my gosh, I am so glad you brought up the Canyon Rim Trail. I've been walking that every weekend or pushing it. And it's just so great. I remember living in Boise, going on the Greenbelt all the time. We would do on my hand cycle like 50-mile bike ride weekends, and we'd go on the Greenbelt for some of that. And it was just so nice to be out, and it was like you'd see people being active, so it was really cool. And when I came to Twin, I was like, oh gosh, where does everybody go? And so since having that, it's just so fun because there's so many people who are using it and everybody's friendly. And it just reminds me a lot of that like Boise Greenbelt vibe, I think. And I like that, you feel kind of like you're out in the country and it's beautiful and you have the Evel Knievel side. I think that's cool because I never knew where that was. So I think that's just been really enjoyable to have, available for sure.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I'd only been on a small section of it for like a short run, but then my husband and my little boy, we took our bikes and rode along the path that takes you past Evel Knievel's jump site, and there's like cows and pasture, and then a canyon on one side, and then you get to the one end and you can see Shoshone Falls from up above, and it's just beautiful. And the trail is so nice and smooth, and you can scooter down it, you could bike, you could walk, you could, it's really, I think, something that everybody could use, and it's a nice amenity for us to have here.
It's so nice. I think, for me, especially being in a wheelchair, I can do off-roading and stuff like that, but it's just nice to have like a paved path that's wide enough. I could ride my hand cycle on it, or
even for me, I'm not a skilled bike rider, so even gravel, I'm like, whoa, careful. So I was just glad that I could just cruise around and not have to worry.
Yeah, I like that there's like some little hills on it too. It's kind of nice to get, some uphill pushing in for sure.
Definitely nice. And I heard you're also into CrossFit, which I think for somebody in a wheelchair, it's fairly unique. You're probably not the only person in a wheelchair doing CrossFit, but when I think of CrossFit, it's like super intense. And so how did you get into CrossFit?
Yeah, so I think the wheelchair movement with CrossFit is definitely growing for sure, which is exciting. And I think just, overall in general, I think we're seeing a lot more active wheelchair users, or at least publicly. I think, people have been active in wheelchairs for many, many years. But I think now with social media, it's just a lot easier to see people doing things. But I got into CrossFit because when I first started interning with Vanessa Toulson at the Diet Doc Twin Falls, the Diet Doc is an affiliate partner with the Pack CrossFit Gym. And I remember it was this last summer, they were teaching people how to do rope climb. So it was kind of like anybody can come, learn how to climb a rope because the Spartan race was coming up in Boise. And so Vanessa was like, well, come on over, like just learn how to climb a rope, and she kind of made this joke like, we're going to have you climb a rope, like a legless rope climb. And I was like, okay, that sounds really crazy intense, but okay. And so I went, and everybody at that gym was so nice. Like all the coaches were just really friendly. I've kind of experienced in some gyms when I go in there, being in a wheelchair, people freak out. But I will say the coaches at the Pack were like super welcoming and are still just so great with me. And so at that point I was like, oh wow, this is fun. So we all kind of learned how to climb a rope, and then they did a workout afterwards. So I was able to do that, and they adapted everything so I could do it. And it was just so fun to have that, because in Boise I had wheelchair tennis to be social and active, and moving to Twin, I just didn't really have that. And so I just really enjoyed that workout, and afterwards started going to the gym and have since been going. And I would say that, it's just such a community there, that gym. And I get to work out and be around nice people, and supportive people, I think, is super important when, you have body goals or whatnot. And so it's fun that I get to work out with my clients there too, through the Diet Doc. And I don't know, I think it's just a really supportive environment. And everybody likes to think CrossFit's like this crazy intense thing that, only certain people can do, which it is, but it's at your own level. So I love the class that I go to because there's some younger people like myself, but then we have some older individuals as well, in their 50s, 60s, and they're out there doing CrossFit too. So there's always ways to adapt the workout for anyone, and anybody can do CrossFit. I've seen videos of like 80-year-olds doing CrossFit. And, if you're injured as well, they're really good about like working with you so you don't affect your injury, or they can actually help you get stronger through your injury. I just started, I actually applied for a grant through the Challenged Athletes Foundation, which I've received. So I got my hand cycle through the Challenged Athletes Foundation, my tennis chair, all my tennis equipment. I've gotten coaching grants, and then I most recently received $1,000 coaching grant for CrossFit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I just found that out like a few weeks ago, and so I'm going to be working with Coach Matt at the Pack for, I think it's like they gave me enough money for like 32 sessions, so
awesome.
We're going to do that. And then there's a guy named Jeddah in Boise who does CrossFit, and he's in a wheelchair, and he's like really good. Everybody should Google him because he's just so functionally strong. But then I'll do some, hopefully, he doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to reach out to him and be like, hey, Jeddah, I need some more help. So I'm really excited just to be, stronger in different ways. I think is always fun. It's always good to push your bodies in, fun new ways. So I'm really excited about it. But yeah, I think if you want to find a way, there's a way.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think it goes back to your no excuses. Like if I think it's nice that there's a community of folks that will help modify exercises for people, because whether they've not exercised in years, or maybe they have a mobility issue, or maybe they're just not they've never really done, serious athletics before, and they just need to start out somewhere new. I think it's cool to have a team there to help you, so to take away that intimidation factor. Right.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even if you're like that person, for me, I love outdoor sports in the summertime. Like I'm a sunshine girl. So it's nice to have something that's indoors that's really social too and fun. So it's really nice, even if you just need something during the winter to, keep you active and moving. So
when you're not inside working out, where are some of your favorite places to go and things to do?
One of my favorite places that I went to, I guess it was a few years ago, my friend Monica and her husband Jacob took me up to Blue Heart.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
It is so beautiful. So she has a few kayaks, and we kayaked up to it and back, and that water was just, they told me about it, and I was like, I don't really understand. But when we got up there, it was just so beautiful, and we got to hang out, and then we did lunch there at the hot springs afterwards. And for some reason, I just have always been like, I really need to get back up there because it's so pretty, and it's really not that hard to get to. So,
but how long of a paddle is it?
I think it depends, what time of year you go and if the wind's blowing or whatnot. The day we went, though, the wind was not blowing. There was, not a current. Oh, gosh. It was maybe, 30 to 40 minutes to,
not
paddle
bad.
Up there. Yeah, it was not, extraneous. I'm not a extreme paddler, I would say. I'm a pretty recreational paddler. And, it was an easy, we talked the whole way. It wasn't you were super winded by the time you got up there. It was really relaxing. So
nice.
And then we stayed there for an hour or so or two and
had lunch.
And there's a lot of other people there. Some people had boated in or, were just hanging out. And so we met some people while we were up there, and so it was cool.
Yeah. I've only seen pictures of it, but it's been on my list of places I need to kayak to. My husband got me a kayak two summers now. So I really have no reasons why I haven't had time to go, but I need to make it a plan this summer for sure.
Yeah. And it's fun to even just, go kayaking down underneath the bridge. That's a fun one as well. I've done that, and that's a good time too.
Awesome. And so I'm also interested to hear some of your favorite places to eat as a foodie and a nutritionalist and someone into food. Where are your favorite places?
Oh, goodness. I have quite a few favorite places here in Twin. The one the two I frequent the most would have to be the Yellow Brick Cafe. downtown, and then Four Roots Juice Bar on Fillmore. And I just love their food because it's totally different. It's really clean. They both, it's just like you eat there and you feel good, afterwards.
You don't feel guilty about it.
Oh, no, not at all. I keep joking because I go to the Yellow Brick like at least once a week, and same with Four Roots. But I just think it's nice to be able to go into somewhere and know that when you're done eating there, you feel so good, like you're ready to conquer the world. And I think that's how I like to look at food. If I can go enjoy it and make it any place that has good vibes, it's going to and you can be social at too. I think that's what I'm all for. So I'd have to say those are probably my two go-tos in town. I have been going to Milner's Gate some as well, the new restaurant in the ballroom. And that place is just gorgeous. And I've really enjoyed their food too. They have this arugula chicken salad with pine nuts, and it's really yummy.
That sounds really good. They did do a really good job. It's beautiful in there on renovating that building, and it's really gorgeous. I
was surprised. I was like, how are they going to turn this into a restaurant? And then they had the offices, but it really works well.
It really does. I've only been once, and I had stuffed ravioli. What was it?
The butternut squash one?
Yes, so good. It was delicious. Yeah.
So I shared the salad once, and then the person I shared with, she got the squash, or the butternut squash ravioli. So then we had a little pasta, a little salad.
That's a good idea to split it.
And it was perfect. Yeah. So I would say those three have just been really fun. I love how downtown is getting just more quirky local places. I think to me that's really important. Because in Boise, there's so much of those vibes that I'm glad we're getting some of them here. And it's cool to see business owners just, following their dreams and taking off with it.
Yeah.
And I always like eating good food, so.
It's always a positive.
I like it when they follow their dreams and, provide me the stuff I need. So it's great.
For sure. So as someone who grew up in the Magic Valley and has kind of seen it transform a little bit, does it still feel like it did when you were growing up, or kind of tell me about the changes or what you kind of see on the horizon?
Yeah. I think for me, it's kind of hard. I spent a lot of my time growing up in Southern Idaho too, or near there. But when I moved to Kimberly, it was right after my accident. So, I think I would have to say, in high school, my life was really just about my physical therapy and getting through high school. I really wasn't into the...
High school's hard enough without adding challenges to it.
And I think you're just so in high school land, you don't have any idea what's going on in the real world. But then when I went to Boise, and after college, I really started, just going downtown and, having all the cool shops and things like that. I started kind of realizing how, this local movement, and especially in college when I went to Italy, and seeing how cool it was to meet local farmers and different business owners and things like that, and how community driven places can be. I think I just started tapping more into that in Boise, and it was always fun to go to the new local restaurant or brewery, or I love the Bass Market in Boise and getting croquetas. Totally not healthy, but so delicious.
It's worth it.
Yeah, of course. And so I think when I moved to Twin, I was like, oh, wow. I mean, what's going on here? And it's Twin, it's definitely a smaller vibe, but I also love that. And I love what they've done downtown. I know that everybody freaked out when they got rid of some of the trees, but I think what they did was perfect with it. It's so much more open, and with the fountain and stuff, it's just you want to go hang out down there now. And so I think there's now just more pockets to go to where it's more social and vibrant. And so I really think, where they've taken it has been really awesome for somebody younger like myself. And I think there's only good things to come. I think people now are maybe going to be more courageous in what they want to do business wise here. And there's so many outdoor things that we can do here. I hope that there's like a lot more like activity stuff going on, you know?
Yeah, I think there's going to be, and I think you're right. I think once a few people open new businesses and once people start renovating things, it's a little bit of a domino effect. And other people are like, oh, maybe it's time now for me to start that business, or maybe it's time for me to invest in that new building or things like that. I think we're definitely going to start seeing more of that on the horizon.
Yeah, like I love the new bike shop downtown too. The little
Bull Moose. Yeah, they're awesome.
Fun.
Yeah.
So fun stuff like that, I think will be really cool to see what opens up and whatnot. So I'm excited. Yeah,
I actually bought a used bike from Bull Moose last summer, and they were so nice and like got it all like jazzed up for me and tuned it up, and it's a cute shop too, and they're just super nice in there.
Yeah, and I think too, like with just some of the new gyms that are opening up here, like with the new yoga studio, is it Hive Yoga or Hive, yeah. Hive Hot Yoga, yeah.
Have you been there?
I have not been there yet. I have a lot of friends who've gone and they've just loved it, and I've been kind of kicking myself to like.
I think I'm going to go next weekend because I've always wanted to try hot yoga, and I've heard it's really good there.
Yeah,
so
I've heard the instructors are great too, and then Core Cycle just opened up too, which is super close to St. Luke's, and a lot of people do that, and they actually have. I obviously wouldn't ride the bikes, but they have like a little Pilates gym in there as well.
Oh, really?
Like they have equipment to do Pilates, which is fun. So that's a really fun space too. So I think it's fun to see these gyms coming up too that are totally different than your norm.
That's awesome. So any other places that maybe if someone's never been to Southern Idaho, it's their first time either for vacation or they're thinking about moving here, that they should definitely check out?
Oh gosh, I would have to say this place is like a childhood place that my mom used to take us all the time. And it's not right here in Twin, but it's City of Rocks.
Yeah.
So if you're into like hiking and just being outside, I think that's like a must go to. And it might just because it was like, we would go hike around there with our dog and like all my siblings, and we go climb and stuff all day. And I think like, that's just like a special place for me, but I think everybody should go see it.
Yeah, it's well known.
Camp out there, all of that. So I think that's definitely a special place.
And they have, I think out there they have like yurts and stuff that you can rent and things like that, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean it's like super affordable. So you just drive there and like go be outside. Yeah,
that's definitely awesome. Yeah. And any last parting tips if someone's needs to get active or healthy or eat better or just be more active that you would, impart on people on a way to maybe start making that positive change?
I think it's just really important to find a tribe that supports your goals. So find your tribe and love them hard. It's kind of what I would suggest, because if you're not around people who are living that lifestyle, it makes it so hard to feel motivated on a daily basis. So even if you're like coworkers and things like that aren't
these folks here, I don't know if you noticed, there's donuts, there's cookies. I didn't see those. They're the worst. I mean, I love them, but like if you want to be on a diet, it's hard around here.
Well, it's hard, it's kind of that concept, out of sight, out of mind. Like if it's not there most of the time, people don't notice. But I think making small daily changes and being consistent, I think people that's the hard part, right? I gave a little spiel last night at Kimberly for like the FFA banquet or whatever, and the teacher wanted me to talk about courage and grit, and I think courage is like what gets you started, right? But grit is what keeps you going through the tough stuff. And I think with health and nutrition, you kind of got to be gritty. Like you've got to say no, and you've kind of got to stand up for yourself and be like, no, I don't want that. I got some body goals, that sort of thing. But that's so hard and it's tempting. And so I think just trying to find environments that are supportive of healthy choices. So that way, it's something we say at St. Luke's on our team all the time is making the healthy choice the easy choice. So I think that's, any way you can find places that support that, you'll be more successful. So trying to, which can be hard. And I think if you're, you have a family and kids at home, just getting them on board. And I know it's so hard for parents, but starting your kids at an early age eating healthy is like such a big deal. I know it's so hard, but it takes many exposures to a food before somebody actually develops a taste for it. So even as an adult, like if you're not a huge fan of broccoli, it's good to just have a little bit of broccoli every day. And maybe cook it in different ways, but you'll eventually kind of like it might not be your favorite food, but you won't hate broccoli type of thing. And the same thing with kids, like just put a few grapes on their plate every day for the next month versus like a huge pile of grapes once and then don't ever feed it to them again.
Because they threw them all on the floor.
Right, yeah. So I think just the mass quantity of food sometimes can scare kids a lot. So just playing fun, like games with them and teaching them, you know, eating lots of different colors. I think making it fun again, like just getting back to that whole concept of this can actually be fun.
Yeah. And I think you're so right about like surrounding yourself with people that have similar goals as you. My husband and I had a baby about 1.5 years ago. And shortly after, we were just like at home all the time and not eating healthy. We're trying to eat like easy, healthy foods or easy foods. And then my husband was just feeling like not himself. And so he just decided he was going to do a triathlon. He had never done it. He had never even done a 5K. And he was like, I'm just going to do a triathlon. And so he started training really hard and eating super healthy, which made me eat really healthy because he was cooking all sorts of healthy foods. And it was just a ripple effect that if he hadn't done that, like I wouldn't be in as good a shape as I am now. He wouldn't be as in good a shape. It was just because I was forced to be healthy because he was being super healthy. And so it was one of those things that like, if you're surrounding yourself with those other goals, I think it helps you immensely. So
yeah, for sure. I think, you know, for me, I'm not a dietitian and, you know, I don't, you know, the food, that component isn't really what I'm educated in, but for me, it's really about with public health, finding environments that support that. And when you have a goal that puts you in an environment like your husband, you know, he was probably surrounded by like all these other people who had that same goal. And then it just kind of trickled down to you, which I think is the most ideal situation you could have, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where it can be really fun. And sometimes the focus maybe start over here with activity, but then it can create healthy habits in other areas of your life. So there's so many components of wellness, whether it's your spiritual health, mental health, physical health. You know, if we can just start with little things in at least one of those areas, it's pretty typical for people to start incorporating, you know, little daily habits that are good in other areas too.
That's awesome. So if people are in the Magic Valley or Southern Idaho and they want to get engaged with some of these things that you're doing, like Diet Doc and things like that, where can they connect for those types of resources?
Yeah. So anybody can find the Diet Doc Twin Falls by just going online and Googling the Diet Doc Twin Falls, and it'll pop up. And people can, you know, message us on there and get in touch with Vanessa, or they can even just find me on Facebook and say, hey, I see you do that Diet Doc Twin Falls thing. Can you give me more information? And then with the Pack CrossFit, same thing. They have a website as well. It's just the Pack CrossFit, and you can they actually allow people to come do like 2 free workouts just to see if they like it before like signing up or doing anything like that. So that's one way to access that. And then, gosh, we talked about so many things.
We did.
I know. There's like
St. Luke's stuff, or if there's anything.
Yeah, St. Luke's does a lot of community events as well. I know. I don't know if they'll do it this summer, but last summer they did a really cool event that we were in. It was called the Bridge to Success, and it was a really fun race where you had you could do the whole thing by yourself, or you could have a group who did it. So Vanessa Toulson at the Diet Doc did it with me, and then another one of our clients did it. And you actually started down underneath the bridge, and you kayaked like to the bridge and back.
Oh, wow.
And then you tagged your teammate, and then they ran up the canyon, and then they tagged the next person, and then you rode your bike. I think that was like 5 miles, or maybe it was 10. I can't remember. Maybe it was 10 miles. And then I biked the rest of the way. And so it was like this, they called it the Splash and Dash. And
that sounds super fun.
It was a ton of fun. And it was to support, oh gosh, I'm going to forget which charity it supported. I think it was through the foundation at St. Luke's, but you know, it was a really easy, fun thing for people to do. And they had, you know, of course, like an after deal at the CSI Expo Center, like where it ended.
Yeah.
And they had a fun photo booth and things like that. So St. Luke's is always doing a ton of like community events. Like
that's fun to do with like a group of friends or your family or your coworkers or something.
And there were some people who did that whole thing by themselves.
Oh,
yeah,
like it was more power to them, I guess.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, it was intense, but
a good goal to shoot for too. If you've got a fun event coming up or something like that, to put in some work for it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for me, I always just go to like Facebook and see what events are coming up, and usually there's quite a few of, that you'll find. There's quite a few. There was a race, Falls to Falls was.
Oh, I saw people on
weekend.
Instagram doing that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that looked like a good time. And I think, speaking of the trail, I think that it supported the trail efforts.
Oh, did it? Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So there's lots of little Spirit of the Magic Valley is coming up. There's lots of like races and stuff coming. I always just ride my bike.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people are running, I'm like, well, I'll just ride my bike in those and I make it work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that'd be fun.
There was a fun bike race out in Hagerman on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh.
And it was out at the Malad Gorge State Park.
Mm-hmm.
And a few of my friends were like, yeah, you should hop on our team. And I was like, okay, sure. Because you could sign up with like a group of people. And they had a like half marathon, a 5.6 mile, and then a 3.5 mile, maybe. But it was on St. Patrick's Day, and it was out at the park. And Hagerman's like, I don't know. I guess the park was like 30 to 40 minutes away. But it was such a beautiful day. And everybody dressed up in like St. Patty's Day stuff. And then they had like wine and beer out there, like the green beer after everybody was done. And it was a good time. And I guess in the past, like it snowed and been cold. But this year, like, of course, the year I went, it was really nice. Beautiful. And I rode my bike and I had a blast. And so that's another really fun.
I love all the waterfalls out in Hagerman. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And it was really, they have a great path out there that you can bike on and run on. So that was another fun one that people should take advantage of. In the spring.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like, there's just so much to do here. It's just, it's hard to cover all of it. It's just an amazing place.
Yeah. I mean, you can keep yourself very busy. That's for sure.
Awesome. Well, Makenzie, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story and all the awesome things that are going on in the Magic Valley. It's been really fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Secrets Out Idaho. You can follow Southern Idaho Economic Development on social media or visit southernidaho.org to learn more. Please take a moment to leave a rating and review and subscribe so you can be the first to hear more Secrets Out Idaho. Until next time.